welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Community Cup. We're in Renton, Washington. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth.
Here with Matt Tabak, also in the booth.
And I just closed the whole entire thing.
There we see Mike Turian and Joel Larson. They're getting ready to start their game here.
All right. Now, yeah, so you've got a list in front of you here, Matt, and this is important. Why don't you sketch out for us exactly what these players had to do? This was a stipulation draft in the Legacy Cube on Magic Online. So who had what here?
Correct. So every person had a stipulation that they had to observe while drafting. Running quickly down the community team, Megan had the all you need or mize. So she could draft whatever she wanted, but her deck, other than lands.
I want to know about these
Oh,
players.
I'm sorry. You want to know about
No, yeah,
those?
specifically these two gentlemen.
So Joel Larson had a stipulation we called going AFK. So he could pick booster 1, 2, or 3. And for that pick, he had to leave his computer.
Now, what happens on Magic Online if you leave your computer?
Well, Magic Online helpfully drafts for you, as in it gives you a card. It doesn't give you an enormous amount of control over what card you're getting. So essentially, Joel had cards chosen at random, put into his card pool for one of his boosters. Now, he could pick which one, and I was busy doing an awesome job judging romantic comedies.
Right.
Which booster did he skip?
One is what we're assuming.
Okay,
I think they both took one.
Yeah, we thought that was the best strategy going in. So basically for pack 1, he drafted without being at his computer. He could go help his teammates.
Now, what about for Mike Turian?
Now, Mike Turian had a stipulation called Horrible Marksman. So Turian, again, could draft whatever he wanted, but his deck could not have any cards that had the word target in its rules text, nor can he play any equipment or auras. So he has no idea how to target. Nothing in his deck can target.
That is a massive, like, so many things say target, right?
That's a good swath of cards,
yeah.
right?
And a lot of good cards.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Oh,
most
for sure.
removal.
Like most removal spells, yeah. There's a lot of damage spells. There's a lot of targeted removal there.
What the?
Look at that.
That is gorgeous.
Isn't that nice? We have the full art basic lands.
Wow, so these are the new ones from Battle for Zendikar?
Yes.
Dear goodness.
So these will be in booster packs that everyone will be opening up around the world in one short week. We're very excited about that.
I'm excited. I might be the most excited.
You are. You sound like it.
Yeah, I am.
I can tell.
So what we've got here as far as board state goes, Matt, if we've got a Mana Gorger Hydra here from Turian. Now, that was his first play of the game because his Phyrexian Revoker got traded off for an Isamaru. So he's been able to stick this Hydra, though. The problem is that Joel Larson actually drafted a really nice deck. Even though he had to skip a whole pack, he ended up with a mono-white deck that you can see here turned out beautifully.
Yeah, it's a very nice curve on Joel's deck here. He's gotten out to a very fast start. 8.5 tails, of course.
8.5 tails being activated here, making the Mana Gorger Hydra white. Now he's going to give 8.5 tails protection from white. He's also going to give Soldier of the Pantheon protection from white, and he's even got a Mother of Runes as just a backup plan here. Now, interestingly here, it looks like Turian's just going to take all of it, even though the Avacyn's Pilgrim could have traded, right, for the Soldier of the Pantheon. The problem, of course, is, again, the Mother of Runes looming.
Right. Now, remember, Mother of Runes, target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice, is white.
And that thing had protection from white.
So once Joel gives one of his other creatures protection from white, the Mother kind of goes offline.
Now, interestingly, we see that Turian did not block there, indicating that he had something in mind, and we see what that is now. It's Mirari's Wake.
Yes.
He needed the white mana from his Avacyn's Pilgrim to be able to cast the very powerful enchantment Mirari's Wake. With 4 cards in hand, going up to 5 on his draw step, next turn could be devastating for Turian. The question is, can Larson keep the pressure on enough to kill him before it matters?
Yeah, Mike Turian already down to 10 life, which is precarious when facing the amount of pressure Joel's putting on right now.
Turian also leaving back the Mana Gorger Hydra here, which is now a 5/5. It's got 3+1/+1 counters. That's a 1/1 as its base stats, and it's getting pumped by Mirari's Wake. But he's declined to attack with it, leaving it back on defense, basically tying up mana from Larson here.
Yeah, he doesn't know what kind of tricks Joel might have. His board presence is already very strong. Of course, Joel looks like he's got 3 cards in hand.
Looks like Joel's going to take a different route this time. He's going to attack with both and then wait and see what Turian wants to do. And in fact, he's just going to use his Mother of Runes here to give his 8.5 tails protection from green.
Right.
And that does force through 2 damage.
Right. Mother of Runes not large enough to take out the Mana Gorger Hydra, which is only going to get bigger. But Yol will happily make that move to sneak in 2 damage, dropping Mike to 8. We pass over to Mike.
Now, Mike has some shenanigans afoot here. Take a look at his hand.
Okay.
Woodland Bellower. Let's just kick things off with the Woodland Bellower. So that's going to give him 2 creatures. Now, the one downside here, of course, is that with Larson, with this particular draw being able to give protection in a couple of different ways from a color, Turian is basically mono green, as you can see from both his hand and his board here. He's just splashing for the Mirari's Wake there. And what that means is that he's not going to be able to diversify his blockers as far as color goes, and Larson might be able to just keep hammering through. The thing is, this turn is nasty for Turian.
Yes, absolutely.
What is he going to get here with the Bellower? Oh, is that a Genesis Wave in his hand, Matt?
Let's see. Looking up. Yes, it is.
And, you know, when you've got a Mirari's Wake going and a Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, so spewing off a Genesis Wave for 12 or whatever is one of the best feelings in Cube.
Mike has an incredible amount of mana production right now. Not only is Mirari's Wake allowing his lands to tap for extra mana, but Nykthos ramps that up even more. So
yeah, do you think this was a good turn for Mike or a bad turn?
His board looks a little better than it did last turn, I'll say that.
Now he's going to play Oracle. He gets to play an extra land off of that. He finds, well, not too exciting, a Lotus Cobra on top of his library. But he's kicking. Look at what he's doing here. This is unreal.
A few seconds ago, I would have said Yol is at a comfortable 21 life. Less
now
comfortable
he's being attacked
now.
for 15.
Yeah, now he's at a mere 21 life, and
make that 6.
Yeah, the tide is, well, it's turned.
Like, he absolutely has to kill Mike next turn, and does he have the tools? It is interesting. The Secure the Waste in Larson's hand is a big game, and you can see here that Turian is being very careful, right? He's left back his Vengevine that was 5 damage. He didn't attack with his Avacyn's Pilgrim either, even though he's not going to be using those for anything other than blocking.
Right. As long as Yol has cards in hand, Mike thinks he can't afford to be too aggressive here. Clearly things are going in his favor, but he doesn't want to let it slip away, being only at 8 life. And
so this isn't quite enough here, right? Even if all 5, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he can get through for 4. How much mana does he need to make 8.5 tails lethal here, though? That's the question.
Yeah, it costs 2 mana to make one of Mike's permanents white to get through with the protection granted by 8.5 tails. Mother of Runes can give something protection from green to get through. But I think Mike just has the numbers here. I don't think there's enough pressure coming.
Now the question is, then it turns to, can Yol Larson survive?
Yeah, protection is good on defense also.
Yeah,
so
it's against a bunch of big, dumb green creatures.
Right, and there's not a whole lot by way of trample. There is that Hydra, though, that is just getting bigger.
Yeah, no attacks here from Larson, and this turn is going to be sweet. Looks like a Tarmogoyf on top of Turian's library. Let me move that out of the way for you.
Ah, there we go.
For you viewing at home. So that's being revealed thanks to the Oracle of Moldiah. But now's the turn, Mike. Do it. How much mana can he make right now? So Nykthos taps for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it nets him 7 or 6.
Each of the
Mirari's Wake adds tons of extra mana. Watch this. This is going to be great. Here,
I'm glad we have computers. I don't even know if I can count the amount.
That's
of mana.
19 mana he's created. 19.
I feel a very large Genesis Wave.
Genesis Wave for 16. And by the way,
like you do,
I get an extra counter on the Mana Gorger Hydra. Okay, here we go.
So Mike has dumped a lot of cards into his temporary zone there while we resolve the Genesis Wave.
Oh my goodness.
Here come lots of things.
Let's see. He has hit He hit everything but 3 cards here. The Search, the Rampant Growth, and the Farseek will not apply.
And business,
every other card does.
And business is picking up on the Turian side of the battlefield. It's about to get a little cozy over there.
So that's what we call a 13 for 1 in the business.
Yeah, that's not bad. Cast 1 spell, net 13 permanents.
All right. Larson says, well, I'm sure glad I have all these tiny white creatures floating around.
I do have 1/1s. They have
Board
green.
state. Oh, man. The funny part is that Turian actually can't use Garrick's minus ability because he would become decked immediately.
Right.
He's got 8 cards left in his library, and he has a 10/10 Hydra, so he would just kill himself.
So let's hope Pro Tour Hall of Famer Mike Turian notices that.
I give him credit.
Yeah, of course. I've been hanging out with Yol.
Oh, and he's got a cradle as well.
For a day or two now, and he's looked happier.
Yes.
So Gaia's Cradle also there. That's another metaphorical truckload of mana.
It is. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anywhere to spend it, right?
Yeah.
Like he needs a Polukranos here to just, I mean, not that he needs really anything, but. All right, down to 6 cards after playing a couple of lands off the top of his library. Xenagos is going to make a creature.
Mike certainly needs more of those. Every
No
little bit
more
helps.
creatures.
Yep.
You know what's insane?
What's that?
So let's say we go to next turn, right? I mean, I don't want to run the numbers now because it's too big for me to do on the air.
Yeah.
But Mike can tap Gaia's Cradle. He can use Nykthos. And then he can use Xenagos on the +1 ability to make 1 mana for each creature. And he could probably generate like 50 mana or something.
Right.
Now, doesn't have anything
have
to do with it. But
right. Can't
just
spend,
showing
can't
off a
spend
little.
that all.
Yeah.
But
and he's got Raphaelos on top of his library just in case. All right, so it looks like Turian has decided to try to clean up this board a bit here. He's got Larson down to 13, so this is a lethal attack, and Larson's going to be forced to stack up some blocks on the Hydra here.
yeah, even if the defenders have protection from green, that extra damage is going to trample on through. So Yol has to be sure to protect himself sufficiently here.
It looks like he's actually going for trade my board for yours, for your Hydra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Larson must have something in his deck that can get him out of this. There's not much.
There really isn't.
You know, even a sweeper doesn't really solve the problem here, as it would still leave Turian with a couple of really nice planeswalkers that can add pressure quite quickly.
Yeah, even a Wrath or something similar to that would still leave Mike at a big advantage. So let's see how this combat plays out. As we guessed, that Hydra has become white, so some of Yol's creatures will have protection and will survive. But unfortunately, Yol does not nearly have the amount of mana production that we see on the other side of the table. I don't think anyone has the kind of mana production that Mike Turian has right now.
You know, this is not a Mike Turian style deck, I will say, but he certainly has shown the ability to switch gears quite cleanly.
Yeah, it wasn't at
into the
first,
rip.
but he's attacking, so...
Good point, good
yeah.
point.
One of the stipulations was...
These creatures are too big for him, though.
That's true. They're not 2/2s. One of the stipulations was a creatureless deck, and Mike made a face when he saw
He
that.
didn't want that.
He shied away very quickly. I don't think Mike understands what a deck with no creatures is. So Yol down to 7. Mike's still holding at 8. He's got quite a lot of defense. The Legionnaire hits. 3/1 first strike.
He plays Porcelain Legionnaire and pays the Phyrexian mana, leaving himself with just
I
the
already
one
have it.
card in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. The game one's even better.
So you got to feel that that Turian's going to be able to find a victory here.
Yeah,
right?
he has numbers, as they say.
He's down to 4 cards left in his library. All right.
Yeah, he did need to move fast, but he had more than enough board presence.
And that even gets a
take it
smile out of
home.
Larson, and a bigger smile, of course, out of Mike Turian.
That's every smile out of Mike is big, man. The guy just. And there they are. All right, so an excellent game. One for the.
So we're just going to
Wizards
hang out
team.
on this one while these guys do their sideboarding, and we'll just stick here. Okay. Do you have a red zone over there, BDM?
A pretty sweet game for you guys to watch here.
Should we bump that in right now, Rashad? Or we'll give him just a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Well,
Give us a little primer.
Well, I can tell you right now that it is amateur versus pro.
Mm-hmm.
It is Pro Tour top 8 competitor Melissa DeTora against Magic the Amateuring Maria Batholdi. And, you would think that Melissa would be the heavy favorite here, but that may not be necessarily how it played out. So.
Now, I know that Melissa DeTora, former member of the community team in previous years, has started working for Wizards of the Coast. So it's been a while now, but works for Wizards of the Coast and is now on the Wizards team. And Melissa's betrayal is a story that I would like to follow all weekend long.
All right. Sorry,
All right.
I don't want to interrupt you.
We'll come back to this.
Either of you, actually.
I don't
but-
want you to miss this. We'll come back to this.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll jump back in, and BDM will still have that replay
I have
for
it
us.
queued up. I paused it.
Okay, cool. So we'll come back to that. Sorry to interrupt, Matt. We
No
came
problem.
back, but go ahead.
So here we are. I was just saying that Melissa DeTora was a former member of the community team in these events in years past, but now that she works for Wizards, has joined the Wizards team, and her betrayal is something that I'm going to follow all weekend, as she turned her back on the community.
She did.
And gone to work for Wizards.
How dare she? How dare she, I
How
say.
dare she? So here we are, game 2, Mike Turian versus Yoel Larson. We are here early in game 2. It's Mike's turn 2. Nature's Lore is going to let him find some more land.
So the question here, of course, for this matchup, and we saw this play out in the first game very cleanly, which is Yoel Larson, his deck is very consistent. He gets off to a fast start. Can he apply enough pressure to Turian in the early part of the game to kind of shut off Mike's end game? Just say, well, you know what? If you don't get a chance to make 6, 7, 8 mana, you're just going to die.
Yeah,
And this is a nice start again for Larson.
it really is. It's a twist on the kind of that classic tale. You know, Yoel Larson's the aggressive deck. He wants to really get out there and hit hard and hit fast. And you can see here, even on turn 3, lots of creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah. And, one of the things, Tayback, that comes to mind here as well is we got to remember Turian's his strategy, right? Or, his stipulation, which was the horrible marksman.
Right.
So normally when you play against a white weenie deck, a small creature deck like this, you think of, I'll just kill all their stuff, right? Lightning bolt that, maybe electrolyze a couple of things away.
Absolutely.
And no.
Yeah,
He
Mike,
just doesn't have those options.
he doesn't have the weapons. We limited his ability to fight back. Any spell that targets is not in Mike's deck. So those classic tools, like you said, just not available to Mike. So he has to come up with really what he did in game 1, larger creatures and eventually more creatures to kind of shore up the dam.
And this is not working out well for Mike. His first big play of the game there was that Garrick, which was going to do a great job, but now it's going to be in the bin as Swords to Plowshares, targeted removal spell, takes out the beast that it made, clears the way for the creatures to kill, and he still let the Precinct Captain hit as well, which netted another soldier for Larson, who now all of a sudden has 6 creatures on the battlefield and is looking pretty good, though. Secure Tribe Elder plus Tarmogoyf is a nice follow-up there for Turian.
Yeah, Sakura Tribe Elder does a nice job of not only blocking your creature, taking some of that pressure off, but then getting more land to better develop Mike's presence here. The question is Yoel just going to overrun him before Mike really has a chance to get set up?
Yeah, and he certainly has an opportunity to do that. We can see he's got Unexpectedly Absent in his hand, so he could get a blocker out of the way here if he wanted.
Right. It's the type of removal spell that Mike wishes he had access to. It's the type of tool that Mike really needs to stem this aggression, but...
And it looks like he is going to use the Unexpectedly Absent as we see him jam with his whole team put that Tarmogoyf a couple of cards down on your library and leave you with just Secure Tribe Elder, which is probably going to trade for the Soldier of the Pantheon here. But that leaves him taking 2, 4, 7, 8, 9 damage this turn, even if he makes that block.
Yeah, life total cut in half in one fell swoop. And looking at Mike's hand, there's some big things there. Are they going to be fast enough, though?
Yeah, you know, these aren't the big things that he really wants. Like a Craterhoof Behemoth doesn't look great here.
Yeah.
That's your finisher. All right, well, Bloodbraid Elf off the top's not bad. This could get him 2 blockers or a blocker and a removal spell.
Yeah, Cascade. Any viewers out there haven't seen Cascade before, it's an ability from a few years back. He's going to be able to look for a spell with a lower converted mana cost than Bloodbraid Elf.
And by look for, you mean?
Just search his pockets. No, they come cards come off the top of the library until he hits one, and then he can cast it without paying its mana cost. So
now this would, if he doesn't block with the Hydra, he goes to 1 here. So unfortunately for Mike, he'd love to be able to keep that Hydra around for a little while, but I think that going to 1 isn't going to work for him.
Yeah, not with the number of creatures that Yol is pressing. Those the tokens there on the right, there are 3 of them. So
he decides to block the Precinct Captain, which means 1 extra damage is going to hit him for now, but it keeps another soldier off the battlefield.
yeah,
And that was going to do it there. Turian knows that he doesn't have any more draws in his deck. And now it's all smiles on Yol Larson's side of the table. And you can see that these two gentlemen are right across from each other here.
a fantastic look from Mike Turian there, letting you know the score has been evened, in case you didn't know that. All right, so these two are going to go to sideboarding. And I'm curious now. Of course, I have not seen Mike's entire card pool. I don't know what kind of things he has in his sideboard that he would even bring in. So
He didn't look like he sideboarded much, did it?
being told he didn't sideboard much, and that sounds about correct,
Yeah.
given the style of deck that Mike has put together here. But you at home, we'll find out together. Let's see what draws await us in this deciding Game 3.
Who do you think's going to win?
I like Yol's hand. I like his first turn aggressive 2/1 creature. Protection from multicolored. Maybe not relevant in this match. It might be.
All right. Well, it looks like a rampant growth on turn 2 here from Turian is going to get things moving forward. Meanwhile, Soldier of the Pantheon does its thing. Turn 1 play there from Larson. Though we'll note here there was no turn 2 play at all from him.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Mishra's Factory, of course, a land that can become a creature in future turns, but was not used for mana on turn 2. So Mike continues to develop his mana base. He's going to start dropping larger things real soon here.
Wow, he did not Swords to Plowshares the Tarmogoyf there. I guess he's okay with the trade here?
Yeah, Tarmogoyf not very large right now. Will trade with Soldier of the Pantheon.
Yeah,
If Mike blocks.
And it looks like Mike does not want to block. You know, it's a consideration here early, right, because you want to keep your life total as high as possible, but the chance that the Tarmogoyf grows is very high, so Mike's not really incentivized to trade it off for the 2/1 as it could just grow bigger, you know, as early as right now. Right now it's a 1/2 because there's only sorcery in the graveyard. And it looks like Turian's going to add another sorcery. And he's going to play a Wild Mongrel as well.
And, of course, Wild Mongrel, there's now the threat of any type of card appearing in the graveyard.
At instant speed.
At instant speed.
Good point. Yeah, that's a great point.
So Tarmogoyf can grow almost on command here from Mike.
This is getting really intense here because, you know, the Monastery Mentor is the exact type of card that you don't want to see if you're Mike Turian because it's very easy to kill. It's only 2 toughness, but he just doesn't have a way to do it.
Yep.
No targeted spells are allowed in Turian's deck.
And I have to say, Fate smiled on Yol pretty well here. I would not have guessed that he just did not pick his cards for 1/3 of his draft. You can't tell at all.
I agree. Uh-oh.
8.5 Tails has reappeared in Yol's hand.
He's going to start things off by getting his Student of Warfare up to 3/3 first strike mode. And he's going to activate the factory here, so no interest in casting an 8.5 tails. He's looking to beat down.
Yeah, Mike Turing, of course, with Garrick Wildspeaker, of course, across the way there.
Now, the key to this whole attack here is the frontline medic.
Yes.
Yeah, that when Battalion's activated, it's going to give all of his creatures indestructible until end of turn.
Right. Battalion, of course, he has to attack with
3.
3.
Mm-hmm. You can take a look at it here.
Right. Frontline medic and 2 other creatures attack.
So 3 total. Now, this is getting a little awkward, though. He's kind of doing the attack dance here of figuring out. I mean, he had already activated the factory. It feels like he's kind of committed here.
He's definitely made his intentions known.
Yeah, it's just the question
following through on those intentions.
Yeah, and also I think, he's got to decide if he wants to send anything at Garrick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how big of a problem is Garrick? Let's see what he's done here. Garrick, not Garrick, not Garrick. All right, so the 3 creatures on the right are all sent at Garrick there.
So Yol has decided that Garrick is at least a little bit of a threat that he'd rather see in the graveyard.
That's right. There are some planeswalkers that you can just ignore.
Yeah.
But in this case, Garrick's not one of them.
Yeah, it depends on your strategy. Yol, of course, is very aggressive. You'd hate to see some of that damage that could have chipped at Mike's life total go to Garrick, but as we saw in Game 1, there's a clock. And once Mike seizes control, Yol might not be able to push through. So he's got to get that Garrick off the table now.
You see Yol Larson giving a little, talking a little to Turian.
A hint of a smile escapes Mike's lips there.
As he moves to blocks. Well, looks like he is. He says, "Okay, well, I don't want to chump block a bunch, so Garrick is going to have to just take one for the team here."
Yep, the 3 that were attacking Garrick get through.
Yeah, there's always interesting choices with planeswalkers because one of the other options is he can block such that Garrick only takes 3. He loses a couple of creatures, and then he gets to replace one of them with a beast again.
Right.
But that isn't the choice he made here. He's decided, no, I'm just going to let him go. And that means that he doesn't take any damage this turn. He did have to discard a card to his Wild Mongrel in order to keep it around, but that seemed like a safe choice there.
Yeah.
Avacyn's Pilgrim off the top for Turian. Not really what he wanted to see here. But he's got a Bloodbraid Elf to follow up here, so let's see what he can hit with that. Soldier of the Pantheon's going to gain a life for Larson. And here is the big Cascade. Well,
that's Farseek.
Well,
not the most exciting thing he could have hit.
I mean, can he kill him out of nowhere? Like, one of the things that we have to look at here is that Craterhoof Behemoth is just hovering around in his hand.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, this could be a one-shot. Oh, look at this. He's picking a fight. Turian says, okay, you want to attack? I'll let my Garrick die, but you're going to take a lot of damage on the crackback here.
And we do see Swords to Plowshares from Yol.
Yeah, that took out the Tarmogoyf. But it does mean that Yol takes 13 or goes down to 13 life this turn. So I think Mike is just setting up for a big fat Craterhoof Behemoth and just hoof him.
Just hoof him.
Yeah.
That's good strategy
It worked in Standard for quite a while.
Absolutely. This is where we should put that on the brochure. When in doubt, just hoof them.
Just hoof them. Sometimes you get hoofed.
Yeah.
It happens.
So we'll see what Yol's thinking about on the attack back here. Obviously, he saw Mike attack aggressively last turn. He probably has some idea what Mike's path to victory is.
Here they go. They both think they're racing. What do they not know? Well, I can tell you exactly what they don't know. Yol Larson does not know that Turian has a Craterhoof Behemoth in his hand.
That is certainly true. Anytime you and your opponent are both racing, one of you is probably wrong.
Now, Turian can't quite cast it yet, though, right? Craterhoof is not a cheap spell.
It's not.
And he's breaking even on his Nykthos at the moment. So I think he's going to have to settle for a Vengevine here, which he does.
Another aggressive large card.
And now what you see here is not Mike giving up on his plan. He's just saying, look, the way this game ends is I play Craterhoof Behemoth and I run over my opponent in one big hit. So I don't need to try to chip in for damage now. I just need to make sure I don't die this turn.
Yeah, that's actually a very smart determination from Mike. I think he sees what's going on here, and he just has to make sure that he doesn't die before he has a chance to unleash.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to be able to see that. Because frontline medic giving everything indestructible is a huge problem for him right now because his blocks just don't look very good. And on top of it, Joel Larson has now got his Student of Warfare up to 7 level up counters. That puts him in, ultimate mode, as we say. It's a 4/4 double strike. And it's in the red zone, too. So this is going to be a big attack from Larson. He's going to be able to threaten lethal here. Yeah, and it looks like he's content, though, with just getting in with the 2 creatures. He's got 1 card left in his hand. And it's an Oblivion Ring, which is interesting. I'm curious to see if he uses it here. I don't really see why you wouldn't, but, taking out a Vengevine doesn't look super awesome here either.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at 8.5 tails here, which now the presence of Bloodbraid Elf on the other side makes 8.5 tails a little less efficient because now Mike has a red creature he can possibly block with.
Yeah.
And, of course, with Yol only having 3 mana available. But so basically, Yol is daring Mike to block, and Mike doesn't seem to have a lot of great options here.
I mean, he's forcing him to block, right? That's 8,
yeah,
9, 10, 11, 12 damage.
Yeah, sorry, dare is not the right word there. He's saying, here, you need to lose some creatures right now.
Right. And it looks like the beast token is going to be the one that goes away. And that's an interesting hint to Joel Larson of why would you block with the beast instead of like your Avacyn's Pilgrim?
Sure.
Something along those lines. But he doesn't actually use his Oblivion Ring.
No, Mike falls to 8.
What does he draw? Woodland Bellower?
That's Woodland Bellower.
So that's 5, 6. So he can go ahead and cast his Craterhoof here. Is it enough to kill Larson? I always just assume it is. I also just usually cast it and turn him sideways and make my opponent figure it out. And here it is, Craterhoof Behemoth.
Behemoth, a huge
Boom!
There
Look at that.
Is.
How about 1927, 33, 40? How about 40 damage? Yeah, BDM says, I've done that in Commander enough to know that that's what we call enough damage. And that does it. Mike Turian picks one up for the home team here, Team Wizards of the Coast.
That is the kind of win I like to see. Just, hi, I'm enormous. Deal with this.
Yeah. I call that the no math alpha. I know that the Graham calls that a flunge.
A flunge?
Yeah, where you just turn them all sideways.
Go.
And, yeah.
You 4. Go kill something.
Probably win here, but I'll let you sort out the details.
Yes.
So that was a big win, though, for the Wizards team.
Huge
I have
win.
to say that, Joel Larson, he's got to be the best player in the room currently.
He's certainly better than I am.
He was playing against the Pro Tour champion, right?
Yeah, but he was a Pro
yeah.
Tour champion years ago, and Joel Larson is a honed. He plays now. He won the last Pro Tour.
He won the last Pro Tour.
I think even if we talk to Mike Turian, if we compared those two players in their absolute peaks, we could have an argument. But if we compared them right now, Turian is just not. He's got kids,
he's a little bit out of practice.
Yeah,
I mean, plays a lot of Magic,
but he's still great at it, and he beat Joel there.
Let's not take anything away from Mike Turian. He is a Pro Tour Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He has game.
I'll still first pick Turian in a limited format.
All right,
sure.
I'll take Larson. All right, so BDM, you had for us in the red zone a replay that you wanted to show us. Let's get to that right now.
So, I had Maria Bartholdi versus Melissa DeToro, the pro in Melissa, the Magic, the amateur in Maria. And you know what? It was the same matchup of stipulations. Melissa DeToro had AFK. So, interestingly, she ended up with a white deck, very similar to what Joel ended up with. And Maria Bartholdi had the bad archer. So, she couldn't have targeting. And Melissa comes out pretty early. She's got a quarter paladin. She has a swords to plowshares to get something out of the way. She has a frontline medic. But turn 4, Eureka into Kozilek, into Craterhoof Behemoth, into Stormbreath Dragon. oh, by the way, I'm going to attack with my Storm Breath Dragon and my Craterhoof Behemoth, and you're going to pretty much scoop the next turn, even though you have. And then let me show you how game 2 worked out here.
That was a eureka.
Yeah, it was eureka. I mean, that was a eureka moment, a literal eureka moment. So Melissa started off pretty bad here. I think she went down to 5 cards, but came out with a champion, a Soldier of the Pantheon. She had an Oust for the Lotus Cobra. Lotus Cobra does not block. Then comes the Frontline Medic. There's Lotus Cobra ability again. Starts trying to figure out how to make the mana work here. And Yavimaya Elder is the play. One of my favorites. Yavimaya Elder is going to block here. I think she may have missed the opportunity to sack it.
That's kind of a tragedy.
Yeah, it's kind of a tragedy. It's like 2/3 of a tragedy. But Hornet Queen is the play next turn.
Right. Tragedy averted.
Here comes Crusade. So things are, pretty good here. Crusade and Frontline Medic. But Maria is tapping a lot of mana. She's got Hornet Queen into Craterhoof Behemoth. I've got some 8/8 insects. I've got a 12/12 Craterhoof. Oh, by the way, my Hornet Queen's a 9/9. You know what? I'm also going to attack you with a Lotus Cobra. That's a 9/8 Trampler. You're dead. So, pretty...
How... Isn't this eerily reminiscent of what we just watched?
And it's the same exact stipulation.
What is going on here?
Yeah, fantastic.
I guess it's the
that is the match.
Oh yeah.
So Maria Bertholdi takes the match. The Magic the Amateuring beats the Pro Tour top 8 competitor Melissa DeToro. Sending it back over to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, VDM, for that red zone action, and it looks like an instant replay.
So, yeah, there's pretty much the same. Maybe that's what you'd expect from these 2 stipulations. If I can't target, I go big creatures, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. But it is a little weird that the mono white also came out. Anyway, we've got an interview with Blame Worth.
Oh,
Wolf Wolpert. Let's send it down to that right now.
Well, we've just seen Community win there. We saw back from Megan's match, but I'm here with one of the Wizards Coast team that won that last round. Worth Wolpert.
Hey.
Which stipulation were you on for this draft?
I had the no creatures, such as it was a stipulation, I guess.
Now, that's an interesting point. It's one of those stipulations that doesn't necessarily feel quite as restrictive as some of the others if you like drafting that kind of deck, which you do, right?
Yeah, it's right up my alley. Give me a third of a card over, every third turn over 7 turns, and I'll win on turn 20. That's pretty great.
And your matchup for this round, you were against Wedge, who he was drafting the disaster movie deck. So he had to take cards that sounded like a disaster movie, and by his estimation, it wasn't necessarily a great matchup because a lot of them are creature removal, and your deck, no creatures.
Yeah. No, it's I felt bad for him because on game 1 on turn 6, I dropped Ashiok and milled him, and I saw I think two anti-creature cards, and I knew he was in for a long game. His deck was really flavorful though. Like every time, I was actually keenly interested when I would mill him with Ashiok. I was getting a chuckle out of this stuff. His deck was really, really great.
Plenty of information to give on to the rest of your teammates for the rest of the round, but tell us a little bit about how that match finished, because it was an unusual game of Magic the Gathering.
Well, my deck is kind of light on win conditions, as you can imagine. There's a couple Planeswalkers that can do the job. There's actually a couple Planeswalkers in there that can't actually win the game. So I was light on win conditions in game 2, although I had complete control. I had a ton of mana, and I'd just been drawing cards all game. And he played a Demonic Pact, which I could have countered, but easily, and had a couple left over. But I just decided, it's for fun. Let's see if I can kill him with his own card. And 4 turns later, he tried to Maelstrom Pulse his Pact after he used it up and countered it, and that was that. Oh, actually, in the first part of the game, the cool part was he actually opened on Dark Depths with Thespian Stage, and was very happy about that until I repealed it.
So that's 1 blue mana, bounce your 20/20 creature, also get to draw a card.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
None too shabby. Plenty of trash talk going across the room. Sat basically opposite corners of the room, but didn't really hamper the communication too much. And Wizards picking up the win in that particular match. And 2 matches left in the stipulation draft. Feeling pretty good about your deck?
Yeah, I mean that's the best matchup I'm going to get. So that was a good warm up.
All right, so we're going to head things back to the coverage booth now, but we've got 2 more rounds of stipulation draft here at the Community Cup.
Hey there, welcome back to the booth. We are moving right along here with coverage of the Community Cup. Matt Tabak, Marshall Sutcliffe, and we just got done with our first stipulation draft round. But BDM is over in the red zone, and he actually has the match that we just heard about from Worth queued up. BDM, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got Wedge versus Worth Wolpert. I was actually over Wedge's shoulder during the stipulation draft. We had to do disaster movies. I was pretty happy with how this turned out. And he ended up with a few like pretty cool combos in the deck. Like you heard about the Demonic Pact and the Maelstrom Pulse. An Inox Survivalist, which could kill his Demonic Pact. But one of the other things he ended up with was Dark Depths.
Ooh.
And got a late pick Thespian Stage when there was nothing to contradict him picking that.
Whoa.
So there you go. He's got it online here.
Look at that.
So, if people
Just
don't know how
like
this
they
works.
designed it.
Yeah. So, Thespian Stage will copy Dark Depths. It becomes a copy of the land. They're legendary. He sacrifices the original. The new one has no counters on it, so you sacrifice it and you get a token, but then 1 mana repeal.
Oh, no. He spent blue.
He just spent
draw
a single
card.
gets the draw card because the 2020 Marit Lage token doesn't cost anything. It has no converted mana cost. You get to repeal it for blue.
If you're going to get rid of a 2020 threat on the other side of the table, you might as well draw a card for doing so.
Well,
right?
there's
For single mana.
for a single mana.
Here's Demonic
easy.
Pact now.
Okay.
So Demonic Pact is in play. So this deck worked out pretty sweet for Wedge. I mean, flavor-wise, I don't know, how it's going to work out.
It's difficult, like we saw, to pick a very flavorful deck. I just want to
we didn't
put
have
that out there.
We didn't have that much trouble.
Really?
No, because BDM was doing his job,
weird.
so it was a little easier for
Oh,
him. Yeah.
that's- What was your stipulation again?
Disaster movies.
Oh, that sounds very much like Magic, right? Fighting and catastrophes.
He got an Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon, sure.
An Oblivion Ring. It's like a space station disaster movie.
Yeah, so one of those stipulations was
your
kind
guy
of a layup.
Your guys didn't draft Sleepless in Seattle? Or?
I did not see any Sleepless in Seattle cards. I looked. I really looked.
Yeah, you did have a slightly more difficult job.
I think people really should understand that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, look at this. There's an
Oh.
Armageddon.
Look at that.
Oh, but it's going to get
The
dissolved.
classic
So
disaster
now he tries to
movie.
Maelstrom Pulse, but he gets Cryptic Command, and he goes to Maelstrom Pulse's Demonic Pact. We're going to see him lose to his own Demonic Pact.
No way.
He baited out the counterspell with the Armageddon, but
But it was the Cryptic Command.
the Cryptic Command then
Oh no.
Like Worth said, this is for fun. He wants to see if he can kill him with his own
you
card.
lose the game. That's what happened. So guys, I don't know. That was pretty crazy.
He didn't read the whole contract. It says you lose the game right there.
Well, thank you, BDM, for that. That was great.
That was a fantastic
That
game.
was great.
It really was.
I haven't done that yet, but I've kind of always wanted to.
To make someone lose to their
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost. I have lost to it in playtesting. I've not lost to it since we printed the card. So that
Question.
doesn't count. That doesn't
Now,
count.
you do editing stuff still?
Not so much on the paper game. I used to be an editor for the actual printed cards.
Yes.
I've moved on to now I'm the editor for Magic Duels.
Gotcha, for duels. Now,
Yeah.
okay, well, I've still got a question that you maybe have heard floating around.
Sure.
That card's called Demonic Pact.
It is called Demonic Pact.
Is that a little throwback
to the
to
like
the
pact of
other way you can
negation
lose the
and
game on your
pacts?
upkeep? Yeah.
I never even considered that.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Because like the first time it occurred to me, because Demonic Pact is just a
That's
cool name for a
brilliant.
card, right? The first time it's like, oh, you're going to die to your pact on your upkeep, and I'm like,
Where
I've
have I
said
heard
that
that
before. Yeah. And so I think that's actually
Yeah,
like,
that is absolutely
and
intentional.
the what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you full credit for it.
Yes.
So genius move.
When
well
I named
named.
that card, which was shortly after I designed and developed that card, I wanted to really give, as a little shout out to our longtime players who, of course, remember Pact of Negation and Friends. That's what I did. Demonic
Bravo,
Pact
Matt
actually
Tabak.
designed by the community. A nice little tie-in with our event here. That card came out of You Make the Card. It wasn't the card that ultimately won. That was Waste Not.
Yeah.
But it was a design that we loved in R&D and just fell in love with and made some tweaks to the card and shipped it out the door.
That's
So-
one of the really cool cards.